my Math 146 class, then you know that we have a mortgage project that's due usually around the midterm of the semester. So what I'm going to do in this video is kind of just go over how you set up your mortgage project and maybe some tips or things that you might want to know as you're working through it. And so what I'm going to do, just so that I don't give anybody an unfair advantage, I guess, is I am going to just kind of make up a house that I'm going to use. Okay, so what you would do is you would look at the PDF file that has the three or four different houses to choose from. And so let's say that I'm going to use this house that's $125,000. It's in the county, so it's going to pay county taxes, and then we have our yearly insurance, how much we're going to pay for the insurance yearly. And then, you know, we talked about in class how the taxes and insurance are often divided up into monthly payments so that you don't have to, you know, at the end of the year have $1,800 to pay. You can pay a little bit every month as you go along. And so that's what we're going to assume that we're going to do. So if I choose this house, when I'm working on the actual project sheet up here, I would write what number I chose. So when you're working on yours in the PDF file, you know, it has 1 through 4. So you just write in which house number you chose. That mainly just helps me as I'm grading it to know, you know, which numbers you're supposed to have in there. So we're going to have a down payment on this home. And the down payment, we're just going to say, just so all of us can be consistent, is that it's going to be 20% of the house price. So what we would do is we would take our house price and multiply by 20%. All right, so if we do 125,000 times 20%, that gives us 25,000. All right, so your down payment is going to be pretty large if it's 20%. So you're probably talking about 20, 30,000, you know, somewhere in there, depending on the cost of your house, of course. Then after accounting for the down payment, how much will you be financing? So financing is talking about how much money are we actually borrowing. So the house did cost $125,000, but we don't have to borrow that entire amount, right? Because we just paid off some of it, right? We had some savings that we used to pay it off. So we're going to subtract off the down payment, that $25,000. And so this one comes out to a nice $100,000. You know, yours may not come out to a nice number like that, but all you need to do there is just subtract your down payment off, okay? And so for the remainder of the project, for most of it, we're going to be referencing that value after the down payment, so the $100,000. Then there's another question here that's kind of just a guess or just your own opinion there. But then we're going to start looking at the tax rates. Now for my specific house, it was in the county, so you would look for that on the file and see, you know, where was your house located. And so these are the updated property tax rates. Now for that, even though I did say for most of them we're going to use the after the down payment amount, for taxes you actually pay what the house is worth, okay? And so in this, again, for us all to be kind of on the same page, we're just going to assume that the value of the house is the same as the asking price, okay? So we paid $125,000 for the house. We're going to assume that that's what it's worth. And so we're going to multiply by this rate here. Now it's a really small rate. It's less than 1%, right? So one thing sometimes students will mess up on a little here is not moving the decimal enough places. So for this, the 0.795%, as a decimal, that's actually 0.00795, okay? So what this should come out to is somewhere in the neighborhood of $1,000, $1,000 to $1,200 maybe dollars, you know, again, depending on how much your home is that you're looking to purchase. But if you get something like $12,000, that probably means that you didn't move the decimal enough places. So make sure you check for that. So $993.75 is how much I will need to pay each year in taxes. But then how much would that be monthly? Well, monthly, we would just divide by 12, right? So I'd go here and I'd take that number I just got, divide by 12, and we'll just round to the nearest hundredth, so 2 decimal places, and so I get $82.81, and so that's how much I would pay monthly. And so we're going to need this number later on. So let me highlight that one here. Okay. All right, then we go to insurance, which actually is even easier because it should have given you the yearly insurance, right? And so in my example here, it said yearly insurance was $1,800. So it's kind of going to be similar to the taxes. It's going to be around $100 or so a month. So we'll do the 1,800 divided by 12, and I get 150. So that $150 is how much I'd pay monthly for my insurance. So again, I'm going to highlight that number because we're going to come back to it. Now, this is the chart that is worth probably the most amount of points in this project, because this is kind of the main thing we're looking at, is how do we find the monthly payment, and then how does that show us how much we owe at the end of the term and all that. So what we're looking at here is 3 different banks, okay? So Bank A, we're looking at a 30-year loan, and it's a 5% interest rate. So the easiest way to do this would be to use the mortgage chart. So I have that up here. This is in Blackboard. I think, linked it in one of the announcements, but if you can't find it, just let me know, and I'll help you to find that. All right, so here, sorry, I was on the wrong table. Here's the table. It's table 6. This is the one for mortgages. We're going to look at 5% for 30 years. So here's our 5%. We go over to the 30-year spot, and that would be our number, right? So no matter what the price of your house was, this is the rate that you'll use, that 5.36822, all right? All right, so that's the rate we're going to use, and then we're going to multiply by the number of thousands of dollars that we borrowed, right? So that is when we are going to go back to this amount after the down payment, right? Because we only borrowed $100,000, so we're no longer concerned about the 125 there. So the number of thousands, for me, it would be 100. If you had something like, let's say this is how much you were financing, 123,580. Okay, that would become 123.580. All right, when we're multiplying in this scenario. So with that, basically you're just turning your decimal, or you're turning your comma into a decimal. All right, and so this is going to give me my monthly payment. So 536, and again, just round to the nearest decimal, or I'm sorry, nearest penny, so nearest hundredth, 2 decimal places. So 536.82. So on this one, there are different houses, of course, so we'll have different answers, but your answer should be somewhere around $600 to $800. You shouldn't get a monthly payment of $5,000. Okay, if you get a really large number, it probably means you didn't convert your thousands of dollars to decimals, or something. Okay, something went wrong there, because we should expect our monthly mortgage payment to be under $1,000 in most of the scenarios we're going to see. All right. So then you would do all these the same way. You'll just go to the chart and look up like 20-year and 4.5%, and then 30-year and 4.5%. But I'm going to show you how to do the other columns here. The total amount paid at the end of the term. Well, we know that we're paying $536.82 every month, right? So how many months are we going to pay that for? Well, we're doing 30 years, right? So 30 years is 360 months, right? If we're doing the 20-year loan, then it's 240 months, right? 20 times 12. So now this number is going to be big. This is going to be a big number because we're paying that monthly payment for 30 years, right? That's a long time. So we get $193,255.20. All right, so that is how much I have paid. So I borrowed $100,000, right? But at the end of those 30 years, I actually end up paying $193,000 for that. So I'm basically ending up with about $93,000 in interest, right? But that's not the total cost of the house because we also had a down payment, right? So the last part, just to get that total cost of the house, I'm going to add on the down payment that I had, right? So you would go back to part A and see how much you paid for your down payment. Mine was $25,000. So that's what I'm going to add on here to my answer in the second column and get $218,255.20. So our house that was worth $125,000, we end up paying $218,000 for after those 30 years. All right, and then down here, what we're doing for this is we're going to look at all these numbers that I highlighted in green, okay? So we're going to have our monthly mortgage payment, which is $536.82. Then we're going to find our monthly insurance payment, which was $150. And finally, we'll have our monthly tax payment, which was $82.81. All right, and then we're just going to see how much does that come to that I'll have to pay every month, right? Because we don't just pay the mortgage, we also have taxes, we also have insurance. So this comes out to $769.63. So that would be my total payment if I bought this house and I went with Bank A. Okay, so for the other ones, these values will stay the same, right? Your monthly insurance and taxes will stay the same, but your monthly mortgage payment will change for each of the banks because they have different rates and terms, right? The last question down here kind of just looks at taxes. So if we're looking at this one specific house that's $150,000, how do the taxes compare if you're in the city versus if you're in the county? Just kind of to show you how that percentage difference here between these can make, $1,000 of difference over a year or over several years. Okay, so that is how we would do the mortgage project. So if you have any questions about completing it or how to submit it in Blackboard, feel free to let me know. You can also email it to me if you can't get the Blackboard upload to work. If you do email it to me, just make sure that you put mortgage project and your name in the subject, just so it's easy for me to find when I'm trying to grade them. All right, so that's all for this time. Let me know if you have any questions.